is a man who could well reorder the way of things in Pro Stock Eliminator. He has dominated the field all season long, and from the looks of things will continue to do so. His wins this season look like a campaign designed to dominate an entire nation.
You won, buddy. Job again this weekend, guys.
With his ninth win last week in Topeka, Kansas, he is, with 4 races still left on the schedule, poised to claim the Winston Championship. And in so doing, they will set a host of records that might, just might, stand the test of time. For Jag Coughlin, 2000 has proven to be a magic time. For Jag Coughlin, 2000 will be the year he joins the select few entitled to be called champion. Speed Vision proudly presents coverage of the 2000 NHRA Winston Championship, the 21st of the 24 national event, $45 million tour. Today, the 13th annual AutoZone Nationals from the Memphis Motorsports Park, just down the road from the birthplace of the Blues. Hi, everybody. I'm Eli Gold. Welcome to a chilly Memphis, Tennessee. Some folks are dressed like we ought to be at a dog sled race, but it is an NHRA event, and today we could well crown a champion. He might have won the title earlier this year, but it might become official today for Jag Coughlin. Steve Evans has the story.
Well, Eli, as we look at the top 10 in Winston points in the Pro Stock category, it's obvious that Jag Coughlin Jr. has a decided advantage over Kurt Johnson, Ron Krischer, and Warren Johnson. As well he should. The man's won 9 races this year. Got off to a great start, a little bit of a summer slump, and has come back strong in the fall to win the U.S. Nationals and last weekend in Topeka. But in a stunning development yesterday, Kurt Johnson, for the only time this year, failed to qualify. For all intents and purposes, you are the Winston champion.
Well, it certainly is looking that direction, and we're extremely excited. You know, we weren't counting on Kurt's misfortune yesterday, but this is NHRA Winston drag racing, and we'll take what we can, and we've had an excellent season and look forward to the rest of the day today and the rest of the season.
How do you feel about the cold today? It's been hard on a lot of racers, including Kurt.
Yeah, it has. You know, the sun's going to be out a little bit today. It's going to bring some heat into the track. I think you're going to see some record performances today shattered, probably in all the classes. So, you know, that leaves a lot to be excited for and bring our viewers into.
More good fortune. Eli?
Well, Steve, the story coming into this weekend in Top Fuel had been the Gary Scelzi-Tony Schumacher battle for the point lead. 2.5 rounds of competition is all that separated the two for the championship. But yesterday, Tony Schumacher took a ride here in Memphis that he will not soon forget. Veteran NHRA star Mike Dunn is alongside. Take us through this absolutely savage ride.
Well, Eli, it definitely was savage. It was a picture-perfect run up to 1,000-foot mark. Right there, you're going to see the wing come off it. It's going to drive the car as it upsets it into the wall, right over the top of the wall. The car starts coming apart and barrel rolling. Just a tremendous accident. I mean, it's one of the worst ones I've seen in a while.
The engine goes spiraling away as Schumacher continues that wild series of barrel rolls.
And it did exactly what it was supposed to do. These cars are made to break away in both the front and the rear. As we see here again on instant replay, the car's going down the track. The wing goes off it. What happens is it unloads the right rear tire, loads the left, and drives the car right in the wall. We see Tony get the parachute out. You know, would have liked to see it a little bit sooner, but had the accident, you know, started at 1,000 foot. He didn't have anything else he could do. Here we see the wing come floating back down to the ground. Now we're going to see this on in-car camera. I think we might be able to see this a little bit better. Car's going down the track. He was on a very good run. It was going to run another mid-450, and with just what they were looking for. Car here is going to go past half track. As it gets past about to the 1,000-foot cone, you're going to see the car get upset. You're going to see the left rear tire start smoking because the right rear tire at this point has come up. And as it does that, it's going to drive the car into the wall to the right. There's nothing at this point that Tony can do.
After being airlifted to a local hospital here in Memphis, remarkably, indications are it's only a broken leg. A very lucky man. Meanwhile, let's hear from Gary Scelzi.
Eli, the moment things went wrong for Tony Schumacher, we were all shockingly aware of the danger of the situation. But right next door in the next lane, Gary Scelzi had no idea till he got to the top end.
No, you know, in the Team Winston Dragster, I sit really low, and these sides are like blinders. So unless the guy is way ahead of you, you have no clue. When I got out of the car and saw the safety safari guys going down and saw the wreckage, then I knew that something bad had happened. But no matter what, the bottom line is Tony's okay. He's a little bruised up, but thank God he's okay.
Emotionally, how do you come back from that? How quickly can you recover and continue to compete?
Well, I'll tell you, we crashed last year in Topeka, Kansas, and we crashed this year in Chicago. We came back and won the race in Chicago. We get paid to drive these race cars. It's what we love to do, and you've got to stay focused. You've got to blank those things out, and it's easier when you know the guy's okay, like Tony.
Fortunately, Tony Schumacher's okay. They can move on to race day. Everything seems to be in order in the pits. Steve?
Well, Chris, as you well know, the Tony Schumacher accident wasn't the only scary moment yesterday. Terry Haddock had an engine explosion and a horrible fire in his funny car. Was in the car for quite a long time. We were very concerned, but thanks to his quick action with the fire bottles and NHRA safety safari, he escaped with just some minor burns. Now take a look at the funny car points. John Force on top again. He's won 9 races this year. His closest pursuer is Jerry Tolliver, followed by Ron Capps. And John Force, Memphis is just a weird place. Strange things happen here virtually every year.
Yeah, I crashed years ago here, and then Caminito the following year, and I remember putting Cruz Petragon in the stretcher down there in the helicopter when he crashed a year following. So it's kind of queer around here, but we'll see.
You qualified with a 487 and a 488. That's the kind of consistency that could get the job done.
Yeah, the tracks come around. They were calling her junk 6 years ago. Everybody was smoking the tires, couldn't run 550, and now they're trying to run national records. So the cool air's made that possible. But today's a whole new game, but still real cool. But it's starting to be kind of staying alive is kind of important.
So cool, you got to put blankets all over your car. Have a great day and a safe day.
Thank you.
Eli?
Okay, fellas, thank you very much. As mentioned earlier, Mike Dunn joins us on our telecast this weekend from Memphis, a most unusual weekend to say the very least. And now, on top of everything else, temperature in the high 30s, low 40s. How does that impact these teams?
Well, Eli, the air conditions are just so spectacular here. You just can't get enough compression, enough fuel in these motors to try to, run good enough and not hurt parts. So consequently, you'll see some of the fires like we did yesterday. Hopefully, we won't see them today. Hopefully, they'll have a handle on it, and the crew chiefs will go down the track and do some good racing today.
And that's exactly what they're working on right now over in the Joe Amato pit area. Jimmy Prock and the fellas trying to get things all dialed in. Our coverage from Memphis continues, so don't you go away. We're back in a moment. Speed Vision coverage of the 2000 NHRA Winston Championship is being brought to you by Fran, who asks, when was the last time you changed your air filter? And by the new Motel 6, now renovated nationwide and still the best price of any national chain. Welcome back, everybody, as Joe Amato's team gets set for the resumption of action here. Second round of eliminations at Memphis Motorsports Park, the 13th annual AutoZone Nationals. In case you've missed the action to this point, Tony Schumacher, prior to the accident of yesterday, was the #1 qualifier. There you see the top 8. The backside of the qualifying order looks like that, so you'll see exactly how your favorites fared in Top Fuel qualifying. Here's what's already taken place here today. First round, Rhonda Hartman-Smith has the bye run because of Schumacher's inability to answer the bell.
And Rhonda wants to go down the track, but she shook the tires early, spun the tires, knowing she had a single, she just shut it off.
Don Lampus in the blue machine against Bob Vandergriff.
Don Lampus just left way too early. Real red light, lucky break for Bob Vandergriff. He obviously had some balls, but they still got the win.
Other first round action included Larry Dixon and David Grubnick.
As we'll see here, David Grubnick off the smoke immediately. Larry Dixon right down the middle of the track, forcing the what Ray was looking for.
Also, Kenny Bernstein and Corey McLenathan squared off.
This was a great drag race to about half track. They both started spinning the tires. Kenny spun a little bit more, fixed up the cylinders, and that was just enough for Corey to get by for the win.
Paul Romine and Melanie Troxel went head-to-head.
Melanie really wanted to win this race. Car hooks up really good on a great pass. He gets off to the center of the field a little bit. Had to shut off early, otherwise that would have been a really good run.
And Luigi Novelli against Gary Selzy.
Luigi Novelli ran a career best 477 qualifying. Gary Selzy wants to get it down the track. 460 right down the middle. Good enough for the win.
So the point leader got that edge right there. Now, finally, Bruce Litton and Joe Amato went head-to-head.
Joe Amato, nice run, moved around a little bit after he got off the concrete, but a 462, he'll be in the next round.
Baldwin and Coletta, another first-round matchup.
Doug Coletta got a break here. He shook the tires, he smoked right away, pedaled it, the car started to lay over, and he coasted through for the win. Bobby had more problems than Doug did.
So there you have the first round in highlight form, and the ladders look like this. Rhonda Hartman-Smith against Vandergrift, Sulzy, and Troxel. On the other side of the ladder, you've got Amato and Dixon, Coletta, and McClenathan. And now the engines roar to life. Rhonda Hartman-Smith in the Murph McKinney 2000 issue. And Bob Vandergrift in a 99 Murph McKinney car. Again, we saw the flames that came billowing out of the back of that Vandergrift machine in round number 1. How much work did they have to do, Mike Dunn, between rounds here?
Well, with the 75-minute rule, they really didn't have any more work because they were going to change engines anyway. Obviously, they're going to have more work during the week when they have to repair that one that was damaged. But, you know, Bob Vandergrift, both these cars wanted to do better. None of them was real impressive in their winning the first round, but Bob Vandergrift's been very consistent. It'll be interesting to see.
Of course, earlier in this weekend, this was the story. Tony Schumacher with the problems yesterday, and that's why Rhonda Hartman-Smith had the single run earlier today after the wing went askew on the Army car. Schumacher remarkably suffering some leg and foot injuries, but nothing more. A remarkable testimony to the safety built into these NHRA machines. But that's why Rhonda was able to have that bye run this morning and advances now to beat Bob Vandergrift here in round number 2.
Bob's going to be tough competition for the car's been running real consistent with Johnny West tune up on that thing, but it'll be a good race.
Does Bob have an edge because he's already run a full run today? Oh my! No advantage anymore. Rhonda Hartman-Smith had the reaction time advantage, and then when Vandergrift blows up midway down the quarter mile, it's all over. A 481, 297 miles an hour. How about that, Chris?
How about that, Virgil Hartman? Hey, it's pretty great. We've been lucky all weekend, and now we get a little running halfway decent. We'll tune it up from there. Good luck to you. Thank you very much. They're winning rounds.
And that's what it takes in this business. Wouldn't this be some story? Watch it again. What happens on the right to Vandergrift?
Yeah, we're going to see here on replay. The cars lead basically together, but then all of a sudden, Bob starts having problems. This is they're applying the clutch. That's a problem a lot of these teams are having. The air is so good as you apply the clutch, they can't get enough fuel into the motor. The motor goes lean. You have this problem where, you know, with serious breakage. Rhonda Hartman, not a great run, but it was good enough to get the win.
You see the car bowl in the middle of Vandergrift's machine?
Yeah, serious concussion from that explosion right there. You know, we've seen other drivers many times from that concussion. You know, your head goes straight down. You're basically looking at your feet.
There's a winner here in Memphis. Steve?
I think for the first time, Rhonda Hartman is going to the Final Four. Is that correct?
I went in 97. I was at Indy. I went to the Final Four, but this is great for our Fram team. I mean, we're doing a great job. We haven't done so good in qualifying and making full laps, but that was a good run for us, and this is for Tony. We hope he gets better soon.
And your driving was just spot on.
Well, I'm trying hard. I mean, it's hard. We kind of inconsistent here, but we're trying our hardest.
She's definitely trying her hardest, and it's working, Eli.
Indeed it is. So the Fram team rolls on. She will face either Gary Sulzy or Melanie Troxel. We could have an all-female top fuel run coming up later on. There's Doug Coletta. He advanced with a win over Baldwin. Facing Corey McClenathan, who advanced with a win over Kenny Bernstein. That's this matchup. Watch the rear tires. If you're new to the sport, those tires just straighten up and change profile when the burnout is done.
Yeah, they do tend to grow quite a bit as they start spinning, but that's what the Goodyear tires are supposed to do is they get hot. And, you know, this is a good matchup here. Corey McClenathan has been running real good numbers to half track. He's been having a little bit of trouble with tire spin down track, but you know, it'll be interesting to see because you know, Doug Coletta had those problems in the first round. And but Connie Coletta, you know, this car's been running real well, so we'll see what happens.
There you see how the top fuel winners have come in large part from the near lane, as opposed to just 2 from the far lane. Doug Coletta made his name on the short tracks of the United States. Sprint cars, midget cars. Corey McClenathan, meanwhile, a lifelong drag racer. He's got a lot on his mind, too, because after 6 years and 33 wins, Joe Gibbs is shutting down that team after the season, concentrating all of his time over on the NASCAR side. Corey Mack trying to find a home for next year and hoping to be able to convince his sponsor to go along with him.
I'll tell you right now, Corey's only thinking about one thing, and that's to get this round win right here. He wants to win this race bad.
Watch for the green light. You'll see who wins reaction times battle. Coletta does. And problems for McClenathan. You saw Connie Coletta looking on, and he was smiling, trust me. 4.62 at 308 miles an hour. Solid run right there for Doug Coletta, who's moving on. Let's go to Chris McClure.
Connie, one from each side, and you were looking at the film to see if it was shaking or spinning. What'd you find?
I found out it was spinning the tire. We just had too much clutch.
So you settled it down?
Yeah, settled it down.
Well, that's 2 rounds.
Thank you.
A man of few words, a man of many wins. Connie Coletta calling the shots for Doug, who is advancing to the semifinals here in Memphis. There you see in the funny car pit, Ron Capps getting himself set to go racing here shortly. But the engines have roared to life for his corporate teammate, Larry Dixon. Both men running for Don the Snake Prudhomme. And there's veteran Joe Amato. This is going to be a good one, Mike.
Yeah, this is a great matchup. You know, two of the heavy hitters of the sport, Joe Amato and Don Prudhomme, with Larry Dixon driving for him. You know, Dick LaHaye, both these cars have been down the track quite a few times this morning, so it's going to be good.
Here's Joe Amato. Amato coming in 4th in points. Steve Evans, meanwhile, at the far end, has caught up with Doug Coletta.
Corey Mack over to offer his congratulations. Doug, you can't do it any better than that. You won the reaction time war, a 4.62, just splendid.
Real nice run for us. You know, we'll definitely be ready for the next round. Doesn't look like it hurt it. The car left good and ran good all the way through, so we're pretty happy.
Another guy going to that Final Four.
And they have been awfully tough here the last number of races.
This matchup here, Eli, you know, both of these guys, you know, Dick LaHaye very, very consistent at getting the car down the track. Jimmy Prock, on the other hand, probably makes a little bit more power, runs some bigger numbers, but is not quite as consistent. So it's going to be interesting to see how they play out.
You see in the upper left-hand corner of the screen, recapping all that has taken place already today. Those results from round 1. We are now in round 2. This is the 3rd pair to make their way down the quarter mile as Dick LaHaye makes what kind of an adjustment there, Mike Dunn?
He was changing the idle. He was bringing the idle up a little bit. They would do the burnout on a certain idle, and then before they go on the stage, they'll pull some plugs out of the injector, a little bit more air going there and bring the idle up.
Dixon gets the jump. Amato is up in smoke. Larry Dixon is moving on with a 4.74 at 274 miles an hour, but again, not without some damage to his car. Larry Dixon gets the win. Joe Amato lost traction virtually from the get-go. And the story was over in a hurry. Chris?
4.62 earlier, 4.7 and change that time. Pretty good run, although he looked like he was about to smoke him at the beginning.
Yeah, it wasn't good at all, actually. But fortunately, we turned the wind line on down there, and Amato had some problems. But, you know, those of you that not real familiar with drag racing, no matter what you run first round or, you know, whatever's happening, every time you come up, you stand a chance of winning. So we're still in. That's good.
Okay, thanks.
As we said before, they don't give you style points in this business, and sometimes, Mike, that's pretty good.
Yeah, that does real good sometimes, especially in that. That was kind of an ugly win, but a win is a win. You know, Amato obviously had his problem, smoking the tires right at the hit, and it was just enough for Larry to go get by and get the win.
There's Gary Scelzi. He is wearing a very special device that we want you to learn a little bit more about.
This is a Hans unit. It's attached to Gary Selzy's helmet. It stands for head and neck support. Gary is using it in this race here in Memphis this weekend. It's in general use in open wheel racing, kart and F1. Now you're going to give it a try.
Well, you know, we go through a tremendous amount of G-force. 5 Gs on the initial launch and a -6 when we pull the parachute. All of us have neck problems, and this is going to cure it, I hope.
Possibly.
Now there you see that Hans unit, the head and neck support. Is that something that you might use?
Yeah, I would definitely consider using one. Obviously, with all the G-forces, like Gary said, your neck gets pretty sore after a weekend of racing. So I would be definitely interested in trying one to see if it would help.
Gary has not been using it exclusively thus far, but he's certainly giving it a look-see. There's Melanie Troxel. And she is squaring off against Team Winston and Gary Selzy here in this next round. And Melanie having taken over the Exide ride at the U.S. Nationals. Selzy is going for another championship.
You know, this is a huge matchup here, Eli. Both cars ran really well in the first round. Gary's got lane choice, chose the left lane like everybody else has, but Melanie was on a run as good or maybe even better than Gary's until she got her out of the groove a little bit, down track, and only ran a 4.65, but this is a great matchup here.
Quickly to Steve Evans.
A lot of oil on the back of the Miller Lite car, and Larry Dixon, you're turning some pistons into ashtrays here, unfortunately.
Yeah, but I don't even care. I don't pay the bill, Snake does. You know, we try to get the win light for him. Just happy. You know, we're still trying to chase Selzy down in this points deal. The only way we can do is get win lights, and that's what we're trying to do with the Miller team.
Let's see what happens to Mr. Selzy.
We'll find out as he goes head-to-head with Melanie Troxel, who just wrapped up her burnout seconds ago. Let's ride with her.
Yeah, here we are on the burnout. This is the fun part, you know, just nice and smooth. You go against the throttle, stop to control the RPM, let off the throttle, bring her to a nice smooth stop, and then stop, and then start backing up.
I just have to back up in those same tire tracks.
That's the key there, yes.
Sure there's no debris, no rubber, nothing on the tires. One of those good, smooth, Goodyear Racing Eagle slicks. Selzy trying to put the championship away. Tough way to do it, what with the injury to Schumacher. He'll take it. Selzy with the jump at the start. And too much power for Troxel to hang on. A 464, 305 miles an hour. So Gary Selzy will move on to meet Rhonda Hartman-Smith a bit later on. With a 464, he'll get lane choice as well, Selzy will. Watch the replay again.
We see her on the start line. Gary got a huge jump off the start line. He was ready for this race. Right in the groove down there. Everything looks good. Comes off the concrete there. Still doesn't look too bad. We see it mixing the cylinders up a little bit. I don't think you're going to get away with that problem, not having that problem this weekend, but you know, it was good enough to get the win.
So Selzy advances. Hartman-Smith, Dixon, and Coughlin also winners. There you see the semifinals. It'll be upcoming a bit later on here on our coverage from the Memphis Motorsports Park. Some good runners right there. Some interesting storylines to explore as our afternoon continues. Ron Capps is now squarely set to face Bruce Sarver. Sarver with a 494 in the opening round. Capps with a 5 flat, so Bruce Sarver ends up with lane choice. Take a look at what's transpired already this weekend. John Force, quickest of the lot. Tim Wilkerson surprised a lot of folks. And there you see the back end of that field of 16. What happened earlier today? Densham and Wilkerson.
Yeah, Wilkerson, Densham had troubles early in the run. Wilkerson nice and straight right down the track, and a good win for him.
Oh, Tim will advance. Worsham and Scotty Cannon.
Cannon here. Worsham gets the jump, but Scotty Cannon comes by. The Goodyear's hooked on the other end, good enough to get by for the win.
Everybody holding their Oakleys in place as they watch it unfold. Now you've got Tommy Johnson Jr. and Ron Capps.
Ron Capps dodging right here. Tommy Johnson had a cylinder out with the throttle, but it was just enough to allow Ron Capps to get by for the win.
And the ace McCullough says we'll take it as they watch Ron Squeeze at Bazemore.
Yeah, Dean Squeeze had trouble, smoked some tires early. With Bazemore, a nice run, nice clean run. That's what he was looking for.
And Al Hoffman and John Force for the 54th time.
Great matchup, great rivalry here. John Forso, cars lead together. John just starts pulling away from 300 feet and down to get the win, but not without some engine damage.
Little more damage than they had hoped for. Sarver and Tolliver.
Tolliver had problems right off the bat, dropped cylinders. Bruce Sarver was on a good run, lost the blower belt down there. Otherwise, that would have been a fantastic run. Still ran 494.
But the WWF team goes away.
Jim Epler here. This is a great drag race. Him and Tony Petragon side by side down here. Jim Epler gets a win on a hole shot just by a little bit.
So that's what transpired in the first round. The funny cars, finally Scott Weiss and Frank Petragon wrapped it up as the final pair.
Frank Petragon had the power down here. Nice, consistent 497 run. Just what they were looking for to get by first round.
And now we are set for second round. Second round has Force against Petragon, Capps against Sarver, Wilkerson against Cannon, with Bazemore and Epler. Far end, Steve Evans putting a capper on our coverage of Top Fuel's second round.
Gary, it's a good thing you were on time because she was welded to you all the way down the racetrack.
Well, I'll tell you what, I didn't know who won on that run. It was so darn close. Team Winston Matco Tools got by the second round, and that was huge for us.
This car just runs 460s day in and day out.
Well, so far it has, but I don't certainly want to crow because this is drag racing and anything can happen.
We've seen that this weekend.
And then some, and then some. Ron Capps working on the near lane, and you see the numbers there. Near lane with 6 wins, 2 on the far lane. Sarver, as we mentioned before, had lane choice with his 494 to Capps' 5 flat. So Bruce going with the numbers. Although he should say, statistically it seems to indicate otherwise. But pretty close. And here the near lane goes bye-bye for Sarver. And Ron Capps under the watchful eye of Ed McCullough goes on to win again, a 497 at 283 miles an hour. And there's some damage under the bonnet of that UST machine.
Yeah, it looks like they did some engine damage just like on the dragster.
Meanwhile, in Doug Coletta's pit, the work is already underway with the semifinals looming in just a very few moments. We're coming right back with more from Memphis. Heat Vision rolls on in a moment. Gary Scelzi's team getting Big Red ready for another round of competition here at the Memphis Motorsports Park. Everybody getting themselves set. What's the first thing they work on, Mike?
Well, they're going to jack the car up, pull the clutch out of it, pull the cylinder heads off, pull the block out of it, and then they're going to put everything back together, and they'll probably do it in about 35 minutes.
Remarkable precision. It's like a high-speed ballet is what it is.
These crews are tremendous today. The amount of work that they do and how well they're prepared is just unbelievable.
Tim Wilkerson, Scotty Cannon. The next pair to go here as Funny Car Eliminator rolls on. Ron Capps already winning his round. Upper left-hand corner of the screen again, bringing you up to speed on all that's transpired here today. The first round results and all that's taken place. Some teams will pop the body on these funny cars. Others, like Ron Capps in particular, they never do that.
Well, some guys don't like to turn the air system up, which controls the clutch and the fuel system until they're just ready to go up to make the run. Some guys only do the burnout on one magneto, so it's different for every team. Some guys don't feel they need to do that, so it's just their personal preference.
There's Jeg Coughlin, champion in Pro Stock, looking on. Wilkerson had the start, but then he lost traction. And Scotty Cannon's going to power it down the track at a 546, 242 miles an hour. Wilkerson got away first, but then the tires just unhooked. It was that quickly. Let's go to the start line, Chris.
Well, that time won't win a lot of rounds, but this time plenty good enough.
Yeah, she spun a tire out there and put a cylinder out after she got out there a ways, but Wilkerson had already smoked the tires, and the important thing is the wind light's on. And really proud of all these Oakley guys. We've got her going good today, and we'd like to get in the finals and win this thing. We're way overdue for a win.
Good luck.
Isn't that a mouthful? Certainly way overdue for a win. Jimbo Ermolovich and the entire Scotty Cannon team. Meanwhile, back in the pit area, we're continuing. That's Larry Dixon's machine being gone over. Who packs the parachutes? Does the crew do that, Mike, or do the drivers like to do that themselves?
Well, most of the time the drivers like to pack the parachutes. I got a crew guy that packs mine because I don't trust myself, but he does a better job than I do. But most of the time it's the driver.
Another unsolicited testimonial, huh? You don't trust yourself. I don't know about that. You've done all right.
Yeah, it's just personal. I used to pack my own parachutes, but we got a guy, Wayne Ulmer, on our crew now, does a great job, and I just let him do that.
Clearly, they're not putting mustard on. What's that?
They're just lubing up all the threads because they're going to impact the threads on and torque the cylinder heads just so they keep them from scalding, and they'll be ready for the next round.
Whit Bazemore is set to go racing now. Having pulled off the win earlier over Dean Scusa. Faces Jim Epler with the winner getting Scotty Cannon. There's Epler's bunch. Stone Cold machine at the WWF stables.
Jim Epler there, nice burnout. That's fun, just nice and smooth. And bring her a nice easy stop, and we'll put her in reverse and back up and get ready for the run.
He was the first man to go 300 miles an hour plus in a funny car. Jim Epler was back at Heartland Park in Topeka, Kansas. We were talking before about those parachutes. Look what's going on right now. Ron Capps packing his own parachutes in the pit lane or pit area. Far end, Steve Evans.
Scotty, the cannon misfired a little bit there.
Well, it must have had a hole or two out on one side. I mean, the weather's so good here, man. It's like we're racing below sea level, and we got a lot of fuel in our car just trying to keep that thing from burning up. As you seen earlier, went that 91. I mean, this thing was hurt about 900 foot. Just like, thank you, Oakley and the dead presidents, just let me be here.
Love those dead presidents.
Oh, my goodness gracious. Gotta love those personalities, so nothing like it. There's Jerry Tolliver. He was probably wishing he was behind the wheel instead of Epler. Tolliver bounced in the opening round of eliminations today by Bruce Sarver. To some, that was a surprise. Not to others. Epler gets away first. But Bazemore pulls away at the finish of the 493 at 300 miles an hour. They were pretty well dead even after the half-track portion. But that was all she wrote because Whit just steams away. Big win there, Chris.
Indeed. Pretty even, almost all the way, then you get it.
Yeah, Whit did a real good job there. He knew that Epler's been deep staging today, and he kind of made him think about it a little bit. So driver did a great job, crew chief did a great job, and Kendall, Matco Tools, Camaro was marching on.
How nervous were you? You were doing some serious pacing just before that.
I'm nervous ever since I stopped driving, you know, but it's fun. I'm happy for the team. They work hard, and it'd be good to see them win this race.
Good luck to you.
Thanks.
Chuck Etchells has Tommy Johnson Jr. driving for him next year, but they're not giving up on this year, Mike.
Here we see on replay, both cars are very even all the way to half track. Jim Epler, you're going to see have a little bit of problem down here just as we watch from a different angle. Both cars, like I said, were away pretty evenly. Starts mixing up the cylinders over there for Jim Epler, and that was just enough for Whit Bazemore to go by and cross the stripe first.
And remember, Whit has an onboard camera as well that takes us to the ride.
Yeah, this is a great shot. See the car moving around just a little bit. That's a relatively straight run. The car's going to move around a little bit on any kind of run they make, but that was a good pass.
So Whit Bazemore draws Scotty Cannon in the semifinal round. You saw the smoke coming out of Epler's machine. That's been the story. Watch it here.
Yeah, here's Jim's in-car camera. He was on a good run. These cars were side by side. In fact, he might even been a little bit ahead at half track. Starts mixing up the cylinder, and then something goes away, and that allows Whit to go by for the win.
So Whit Bazemore, the pride of Atlanta, will advance on while Ron Capps' team busily at work. Capps will face either Force or Frank Pedregon. They go head-to-head next. John Force The Castrol GTX machine against Mike Pedregon. Out of the Del Worsham Racing Stables, driving for Checker, Shucks, and Cragen. This is going to be a good matchup, but let's put a capper on the last run. Steve has caught up with Whit Bazemore at the far end.
Whit, this Kendall car is a contender today. 91 followed by a 93.
93, that's good. I tell you what, you can't take old Epler and that WWF team lightly. As much as we like to take Epler lightly, you know, you think you should be able to, but you can't because they're awfully tough. But great for Matco Tools, Kendall Oil, and Terry and our team because, you know, it's been such a tough season up and down. But, you know, when we get a win like, we really love the sport.
Thank you.
Austin Coyle. Bernie Federle in the crew going beneath the bonnet. Justin the Idol right there again.
Yep, Justin the Idol checking everything. I think Austin Coyle used to just have one mag on the burnout, maybe because of the other mag also.
Dave Fletcher in the crew for the CSK entry for Frankie Pedregon. Won the U.S. Nationals in '99. Was runner-up for Whit Bazemore at Sears Point in Sonoma. Another member of that great racing family. Morse the point leader. Advanced with a win over Al Hoffman earlier. Pedregon got the best of Scott Weiss. Force leaves first, and Force leaves him way behind. Applaud yourselves for the Castrol team at a 494, 298 miles an hour. Frank Pedregon had problems from the immediate start. So a 494 gives Force lane choice against Ron Capps later.
Yeah, we see here John Force didn't have the lane he wanted, but he got off the line first. Frank Pedregon obviously had some problems. John Force was on a good run, but once again, he gets down here on the other end. You can see the tires just start spinning, a little wisp of smoke, and that's starting to do some engine damage. Consequently, that's why his speed was down. We'll look here from down track, and you'll see the smoke just before the finish line right there. A little bit of engine damage, but not as bad as the run before.
Saw Frank Pedregon skate out of the groove. Chris?
Bernie Federle, that round win is a definition of teamwork because you had a huge chore between rounds.
We've got a great group over there. Both teams pitched together and got everything fixed. We had an awful lot of engine damage that time. Had to change the body, the whole deal. So, yeah, it is good teamwork.
A little wisp of smoke on this one. You may have another one, but probably not as complete.
Oh, no, this is probably going to be a bunch better. I think we're under control now. I mean, it's hard to say about the performance, but, you know, it's a lot of good running out here today. So we'll just see what happens, but we're pretty happy with that.
Okay, well, if they're under control, I think a lot of folks are in trouble.
Have been for years, it seems, against that bunch. So John Force and Ron Capps with the lane choice for the man. Scotty Cannon with Bazemore will go at it with Whit's 493 earning for him the lane choice. Over in Top Fuel, Rhonda Hartman-Smith's team continuing their preparation. They've drawn Gary Selsey in the semis. We're back with more in a moment. Earlier today here in Memphis, Tennessee, Jag Coughlin got the win, got the kiss from Jackie Beck, and picked up the championship in Pro Stock for the 2000 NHRA Winston Drag Racing season. Now we are to round number 2 of Pro Stock. The pressure is off Jaggy. Now he can go out and enjoy himself, Mike Dunn.
Yeah, and I'm sure he will enjoy himself. That's a great tribute to that team. They dominated all year. They obviously deserve to win, but he's still going to be concentrating on trying to win this race.
Scott Jeffrey on the number 1 qualifier. He has advanced through round number 1's action, bumping Darrell Alderman. You saw the others, including this man, Richie Stevens. The Kid got a win over Mark Osborne. Warren Johnson and Ron Krischer went head-to-head. With Krischer losing here to Warren Johnson. That, plus Jag Coughlin's pass earlier in the day, is what earned for Jag the championship. Martino and Larry Morgan.
Yeah, here we see Larry Morgan, and that Dodge been running good all weekend. Gets off to a good start. That Dodge, heavy horsepower, goes right down through there on the end.
Other first round action, the Dodge boys.
Yeah, here it is. Darrell Alderman, Scott Jeffrey on Alderman last going, stays on normal. Good old side-by-side drag race, but Jeffrey has a little bit off the other end.
Nothing advancing right here. Just typical Jed's reaction time and power to earn the title.
Good old drag race, like you said. Jed got the jump off the line, side by side all the way down. Jeg actually ran a little bit slower, but got it on the reaction time advantage.
So now you're caught up to speed. Jeffrey Onen, Troy Coughlin, Stevens, and Bruce Allen. Jeg and Mark Powick. That's going to be a good one. Here we go. Richie Stevens and Bruce Allen. The first of our second round pairings.
Richie Stevens, he's known for being a good leaver. The kid's good, but Bruce Allen's no slouch either. We're going to watch and see. I think whoever gets the advantage on the starting line will probably win this race.
Allen, the 15-year veteran, against the youngster Stevens. Again, Richie leads first. Is it age? It will be the age over the youth. Bruce Allen with a 6.87 at 199 miles an hour. Nicely done for Bruce Allen.
Yeah, Bruce had the horsepower to drive around him on the other end. Great run.
Now it's Warren Johnson against Larry Morgan. Warren Johnson, a 26-year career in this business.
This is a great matchup, GM versus Dodge. I'm sure, you know, Larry Morgan, this is the best chance he's had in a long time to take out the professor, so we'll see what happens here.
Meanwhile, in the pits, don't forget there's work going on. Scotty Cannon's team reassembling all the parts and putting a new bullet into the Oakley funny car.
Yeah, you know, Scotty had some problems that round. They dropped some cylinders. They put a little more fuel in it because they had trouble with it being lean. And then that caused them to put the cylinders out, move it, you know, close to the wall. But luckily he had enough to get by and get the win.
Now, Warren Johnson against Larry Morgan. You all know about Warren Johnson. He is a perennial winner with 80 wins in his career. Larry Morgan, he has won in Pro Stock, Super Stock, Comp Eliminator. He's done a lot with those 8 Pro Stock wins to boot. Neither man wants the stage. Now they're moving. Big reaction time for Morgan by 0.3 of a second, and this one's going to folks, a .472 reaction time to the .726 of Warren Johnson. Warren is caught sleeping. 690 at 198 miles an hour for Morgan.
Yeah, Warren was just dead late. I don't know what happened. Obviously, something distracted him. See it on replay. Larry Morgan, huge hole shot on that. Plus, the car was running pretty good. Warren saw it. He finally just threw in the towel. Larry Morgan straight down the track. Nice, clean run. Runs, 690, and that's good enough for the win.
I mean, normally, folks, if you see a couple of hundredths or thousandths of a second of a difference in reaction time, that's a lot. Here we saw 0.3 of a second. So Larry Morgan gets the win, and he will advance against either Jeg Coughlin or Mark Powick. Meanwhile, Troy Coughlin set to go against Scott Jeffreyon. Big names having already advanced here at the Memphis Motorsports Park today. This will be interesting. You've got the Dodge as the #1 qualifier against, I don't care who it is. It could be the grandma coming out of the Coughlin family, and she's going to run well.
Yeah, the Coughlins definitely have a handle on it. And Scott's not going to be taking Troy lightly. He knows he's going to have to do his job. He's going to have to leave on the starting line. He's going to have to keep it in the groove. He's going to have to hit a shift points if he wants to win this race.
We've been eavesdropping just a bit on the radios for Troy Coughlin. Let's see what happens here against Scott Jeffreyon. Communication 686 at 199. I'm sorry, he got you, buddy. Scott Jeffreyon advances.
Yeah, and he beat him on a hole shot, 440 to 480 light, and which was plenty to get by Troy for that run.
And that'll be lane choice for Jeffrion when he goes against Allen a bit later on. Now, this is an intriguing matchup here again with Jake Coughlin going against Mark Powick. Mark Powick's last win prior to the win this year in Columbus was here in Memphis back in 1995.
Right.
So we've had that 5-year gap between victories.
But Mark Powick likes this racetrack. He's always done fairly well here. And he's been running pretty good this week. He ran a 685 in the first round, which is a little bit better than Jaggy's 687. So this will be a good drag race.
Of course, where Powick has had 5 years between wins, Jag Coughlin barely has 5 days between wins. Season here, guys. 9 victories already at the Winston Championship. It's a time to Jag. Second for Jag.
You got it. 685 to an 89.
685 to the 89. You heard the report going on the radio.
We're at a little bit there in fourth and fifth again, but that's what the Cowboy gets.
199 miles an hour for Jag Coughlin.
I tell you, Jaggy's just tough, you know. I mean, he hits one of them 440 lights again and just goes out there and runs a 685, and that's hard to beat.
So now as we take a look at the semifinal pairings in Pro Stock, you've got Allen and Jeffrion, with Jeffrion advancing with lane choice. Jag Coughlin and Larry Morgan, they go in pair number 2. Beautiful day in Memphis, albeit a little chilly. Great crowd on hand at the 13th renewal of the AutoZone Nationals. Lots of activity already in the books, including Pro Stock Truck. Let's bring you up to speed. Gracia and Greco moments ago.
Yeah, Jeff Gracia right down the track. No problems, gets a win in the right-hand lane.
Oh, Jeff Gracia in round 2 with a 750. He advances. Mike Coughlin and Todd Patterson.
Todd Patterson tried a little bit too hard. 398 red, just barely missed it, but still got sideways. Mike Coughlin right down the track for the win.
So with the red light, Coughlin wins with a 744. Johns and Taylor Laster went head-to-head.
Steve Johns, shop foreman for Bill Grumpy Jenkins, knows how to make that horsepower. Trucks right down the middle of the track, gets the win.
Nothing grumpy about that one at all. Nor was there anything wrong with Bob Pinella and Greg Stanfield. This is a good one.
Bob Pinella, both trucks with the wheels up, getting that weight transfer so they don't spin the tires, and right down the middle of the track, just like Bob Pinella's been doing all along. Gets the win.
So Pinella at 743, 179 miles an hour gets the victory, and it does set up these semifinal matchups. Pinella against Coughlin, Gracia and Johns, and Steve Evans.
Eli, crew chiefs battle with each other just like drivers do. Instead of beating it with a reaction time, they beat you with a tune-up. And Dick LaHaye, there's little doubt Alan Johnson will throw a 460 at you this next round.
Oh, well, I expect that. I mean, that's, you know, what he's going to do. I mean, that's a given, but we're going to come right back at him is what it amounts to. We keep finding little things wrong, and it's a process of elimination that we have to go through, and I think that we found the main culprit that we've been fighting today.
Wish you the best.
Thank you very much.
Chris?
I think it's safe to say, Steve, this is used equipment, the front end of an oil down that cost Ron Capps in that second round run, but you did survive, Ron. You got into the third round, one step away from yet another final, and that would help your attitude, I think, in terms of the oil down rule.
Yeah, we're trying to catch Jerry Tolliver for second in a Winston points chase, but yeah, you go out and things like that. If it's Sunday and you're driving these things, you know it's eating itself up. A lot of these cars they're very lean at the top end. What do, man? You get paid to drive this thing, so you just keep your foot in the throttle. But I'll tell you, it makes a mess. I mean, it kicked the rods out, and thank God for Justice Brothers, their brake clean, because this thing was an ugly, ugly oil mess.
John Force has lane choice against you. He ran a 94 in the right side, which is probably the lesser of the two. You got a problem?
I don't. I just go do what I'm supposed to do, race the Christmas tree. Ace has said the lanes, there's a little bump in the right lane, a little worse than the left lane, but you know, overall, it's pretty close. Forrest did run that 94 in the right lane. We've been down. We ran 94 in qualifying in the right lane. So Ace is going to race the racetrack, and, you know, I'm getting tired of getting whooped on by Forrest, so we're going to see if we can't turn it around.
Ace McCulloch, the man who's handling the engines, he's a multiple winner in this form of motorsports. Certainly, that engine compartment is in good hands. Steve?
Well, Chris, Jan 1, that 2 will become a 1 for the Coughlin plant. And here they are, junior and senior. This would be senior. Congratulations.
Well, I'm glad we got that right. That's for sure. Thanks an awful lot. I tell you what, Steve, this has just been a fabulous year. And for me, it's a dream come true.
And what a driver this young man is. Congratulations not only on winning the championship, but going to the Final Four here today.
Yeah, thank you. It's, again, a tribute to our team, and we're running real well here today, and just looking forward to keeping the beat going on.
Again, congratulations. Eli, what a pair, huh?
Indeed so. Great pair, great champion, Jag Coughlin. And what a great weekend this has been. We've seen some great racing and under a cool, crisp fall sky. We've got lots more coming your way from Memphis. Speed Vision returns after this. Speed Vision coverage of the 2000 NHRA Winston Championship is being brought to you by new 104 plus Octane Boost with Acceleron power. Welcome back, Eli Gold, Mike Dunn, Chris McClure, Steve Evans. Glad you are with us from Memphis, Tennessee, as we get set to go racing in the semifinals of the 13th annual AutoZone Nationals. Rhonda Hartman-Smith, who made it to the semis in Indianapolis a couple of years ago, set to face Gary Scelzi. They have met 3 times previously, Scelzi winning twice, Rhonda winning once. So Steve Evans, there's no gimmies here because we know that Rhonda has already beaten Gary Scelzi.
Yeah, but listen to this stat. Counting Topeka last weekend, the Scelzi car, 13 out of 14 runs in the 460s. Unheard of.
And indeed here today, Mike Dunn, we've seen Scelzi continue those 460s, 464. Rhonda, meanwhile, around the 480 mark.
That's what it takes, 460 and consistent here in one race.
Scelzi's going to take this one. Rhonda went for it, lost it at the start. The numbers for Scelzi, another 460. 463 at 305 miles an hour. Probably what Rhonda had to do, just throw caution to the wind. Chris McClure.
An amazing string of 460s. You do it again. Consistency like that's tough to beat.
Yeah, you know, that's the whole name of this game, is making sure that thing goes to finish line every time, and a good, consistent, quick run to win rounds.
Any changes for the next round?
It kind of depends on what Conrad does, but I'd like to just leave it alone.
Okay, we'll see.
Everybody's waiting to see what happens in the next pairing. Watch it again here.
Yeah, both cars lead together, but obviously they hopped it up on Rhonda Hartman's car and smoked the tires right at the hit. They knew they had to go for it because they knew Gary Scelzi and Alan Johnson, that team Winston Drags, were going to go right down the middle of Broadway and run a 460. And that's exactly what they did. As we see here, doesn't mix the cylinders up too much. A little bit of smoke off the tires at the end there, but still good enough to run a 463, and that's what it takes.
Thought we might have seen a woman go to the finals today, kind of like Kristen Powell did at Englishtown, New Jersey back in 1997, but not to be. Now can Dick LaHaye get his man Larry Dixon into the finals? Or will Connie Coletta get Doug Coletta all the way there? Talk about great drivers, great minds behind the teams. You've got it in this matchup, and of course later on, John Force getting his game face on. He's going to be in the semis here in Memphis, Tennessee. .6,000 horsepower. That is 40 times that of an average street car. 0 to 100 miles an hour in 0.8 of a second. A top fuel pump, folks, delivers 65 gallons of fuel per minute if you extend it out over the 60 seconds. Those numbers are remarkable, Mike Dunn. You're kind of just sitting on top of a rocket ship, aren't you?
Yeah, well, basically, as we watch Dustin burn out here, you know, that's exactly right. That's what they have to do. You know, it still goes back to the beginning of drag racing. The more fuel you can burn, the more horsepower you can make, but you got to be able to burn it.
Steve Evans at the far end.
Gary, I'm just stunned. Another 460. What a shocker that is.
Well, that surprised me. It's trying to hook and slip at the same time, and it's chattering. Trying to move around to that headwind, but I'll tell you what, Alan Johnson and Team Winston, another final round, and that's huge.
Good point, Eli. The headwind has kicked up a bit.
It really has. And certainly we're seeing some interesting storylines there in reaction time comparison. Again, .400 is perfect.
Yeah, but in top fuel, a 460 light, that's excellent top fuel. Average is probably around a 480 for the good cars. 490 would be an average reaction time. But elimination, they tend to roll the car a little deep, but that means they get a little bit closer to the finish line by rolling in a little bit deeper, and that helps the reaction time, so it actually makes it a little bit better. And on race day, they're going to pull out all the stops and do whatever they can to get that within.
Doug Coletta, he has won in Gainesville, Sonoma, California, and Englishtown, New Jersey this year. Dixon has won in Houston and Richmond. We've got a dandy. Oh, a lot of smoke from behind Coletta. That's going to cost him. He would have had him. Dixon gets the win at 470. 299 miles an hour. It was at the half track. Coletta by some 5 miles an hour by a 1/10 of a second. It was going to be his race to win, but it went boom for Doug Coletta. Chris McClure.
Don, they were just saying upstairs at half track it looked like Doug's to win, and then it went away. You got up to him.
Yeah, we didn't run that good a run, but of course Larry left on him a little bit, which really saved us, But whole Miller Lite team's doing a good job. This air has been really awesome to try to keep up with, but we're in the final, so that's what's happening.
Well, you said earlier in the weekend you're really proud of these guys. This is another reason for it.
Yeah, that's right. It's just amazing what these guys could do in conditions like this to tune these cars. And the Cope team, the Miller team, both cars are doing a great job.
See you in the final.
All right, man.
So the Snakes man keeps going, and he's right. Dixon left by 2/100ths of a second.
Larry got a great start, 2/100ths of a second off the line. But now Doug Coletta, he's going by. Larry starts spinning the tires right there, just past half track, starts mixing them up. But Doug gets that big fireball. There's Larry smoking the tires pretty hard, but luckily he got the win because of a great light, and he didn't have quite as many problems as Doug Coletta did on that run.
Again, you saw right there on the far side the smoke from the tires, but then Coletta had the big-time smoke out of the power plant.
Yeah, we see him spinning the tires. Doug Coletta looked like he might have spun the tires too just before the engine let go. And boy, that is hard on these engines. Like we talked about trying to put 65 gallons of fuel into that thing. You start spinning the tires, it's going to mix them up and you're going to cause some damage.
So with lane choice going to Selzy with a 464, it is he and Dixon head-to-head. And Steve, that's going to be a good one.
Well, Larry, you don't have lane choice. You need to find about a 1/2 if you're going to beat Selzy.
That's okay. Half the battle is getting to the final round. We haven't been in a final round in a long time, and I'm just happy for everybody on the Miller Lite team. We've been struggling all weekend long, and these guys are persevering, and I'm just hanging on, trying to drive my rear end off, So that's all I can say. Thank you.
It's cable, Larry.
But he double clutched nicely and saved us all. With Bazemore still alive here in Memphis, he's getting ready to go when we.
I tried to tell you it was a whole shot. Don't ever listen.
Welcome back to Memphis. John Force against Ron Capps, semifinals in funny car. They have met many times before, but in the last 13 consecutive meetings, John Force has knocked Capps out of the event. Matter of fact, you have to go back to Seattle, Washington, 1998 to find the last time Capps beat John Force. So, in one respect, Force is the dominant car. In the other respect, Mike Dunn, Capps is due.
Yeah, without a doubt, he's due. And the car's been running very well. It's definitely capable of winning a race. Just haven't been able to seem to put it all together that one particular day. But he's going to try his hardest this time. John Force got lane choice, took that left lane, which seems to be the lane of choice. But I think they're pretty even at this point.
6 finals this year for Don Prudhomme's man, Ron Capps. No wins. But he was to the finals in Topeka 2 weeks ago. We've got a dandy going. It's Ron Capps breaking that streak of frustration against John Force. Capps gets the win at a 495 at 299 miles an hour. Chris McClure, you're probably in the middle of a smiling bunch down there.
Well, a little high fives and so on. Very happy man. It's been a long streak for Ron not to win against this man. That is a big drag race.
Yeah, big time. I knew the guys are up for it. You know, it's just a matter of time before we whip that sucker, man. I got to tell you, he's tough as nails. But you know, all the UST guys, they do a great job. And just glad that have, you know, the A's working on that Coke car, man. It's a bad Jose, and so is Ron driving.
7 to charm.
Well, you know what, man, we're just going to keep plugging away. You know, like I say, we're building for next year, and we got the same team all put together, and USD's with us again, so we're really happy about that.
Okay, I'll say 7's the charm. I think it's his day.
It might well be against either Scotty Cannon or Whit Bazemore. You knew he was in for the long haul, Mike.
Yeah, he was ready. He had about 1/100 of a second on the starting line and ran about 1/100 of a second quicker. Both cars are stuck pretty good right now down through the track. We're going to see here from the different camera angle, about half track down, just as they make that transition off the concrete on the asphalt. That's been the critical point. Cars have been spinning the tires. You see John, he's bouncing around a little bit. He's getting a little bit of tire spin, mixing the cylinders up a little bit. Caps maybe not as much, and there's a difference. 2/200 of a second at the finish line.
0.22 seconds. That's all she wrote. So Ron Capps, after losing 13 consecutive times to force, dating back to Seattle, Washington in 1998. Steve, today it has changed.
Oh boy, it hasn't. When you beat John Force after losing to him 13 times, it's like you're the world champion. You came out of the car like you'd won the Winston Championship.
We'd almost want to go home right now. I mean, Ace came in there and he said, he said, you know, I don't know what to say. He said, just beat this guy, all right? I said, well, heck, it's that easy. We got out there at half track, and we must have left together, and I could hear him, and I was right there, and he popped that nose out there, and I said, Ace, come on, buddy, I need you right now. And away we went, man. That was awesome. I got to thank everyone. U.S. Tobacco. I feel like I won the final, but we got some more homework to do.
That's who he's going to race in the final.
Tell you, that's respect, though, for John Force. When beating the man, not even in the final round, can elicit that kind of a response. Now, Whit Bazemore against Scotty Cannon.
This is an interesting race. Whit Bazemore, this car makes a ton of horsepower. It's either feast or famine. If it doesn't smoke the tires, it's going to run a number. Scotty Cannon was running very good in qualifying. First round he ran good. They put some fuel in it. Fell off a little bit in the second round, but we know that car's capable. Both these are matched up pretty good. Whit's been running some high 480s in qualifying. Scotty's low 490s, so they're really close, but it's going to be interesting. I think if Whit doesn't smoke the tires, I think he's got a slight edge.
Now, on the season, Whit Bazemore is 8th in points. Scotty Cannon is 6th in points. Does reaction time become a factor? Well, it could, as you see some of the numbers from the first couple of rounds today.
Especially as you get into later rounds, obviously the cars become more evenly matched. Reaction time definitely pays more of an advantage, advantage to the driver to get off on the starting line on time. As we watch Chuck Ethel there watching his driver, he's going to make sure he gets off the line because he's writing the paycheck.
And again, Tommy Johnson Jr. takes over this ride next year, but that is next year. Now all they're worried about is Memphis. Reaction time to Whit. But Whit he's in the tires, but he's going to have enough and he's going to the finals. Whit Bazemore 5-1-0 at 288 miles an hour. A little fire for Scotty Cannon there, but he quickly gets away from the Oakley machine.
That thing obviously backfired the blower down there. You can see the hatch on the front of the body. That's used if the blower does blow off. It releases that hatch. It's kind of like a blow-by piece, and that doesn't allow the body to come flying off the car. But obviously he had some serious damage on that run.
That burst panel goes flying. But Whit Bazemore is going to the finals, Chris.
He is indeed, Chuck. You turned back. You kind of grimaced. You said the driver saved our bacon or something.
Exactly. No, Whit saved us right there. I'll tell you, he did an outstanding job. I mean, that's how you drive a funny car. And, you know, Kendall, Matco, Chevrolet, they're going to be ecstatic, especially Chevy. 2 Camaros in the final. Caps is going to be tough. Perdome's got a great team, but I'm excited and I'm real happy.
See you in the final.
Thanks.
After Camaro celebrated another birthday just a week ago, it is indeed all Camaro in the funny car final with Ron Capps by virtue of his strong performance pulling down lane choice. Meanwhile, Alan Johnson and the crew getting back to work. Chelsea preparing for the finals. Jeffrion and Bruce Allen, the first pair in Pro Stock semifinals. Tell you, there's some great stories here with all that Jeffrion has gone through over the years. Bruce Allen hasn't won since 1992. The other pairing of our champion, Jag Coughlin and Larry Morgan. Got some great personalities, great personal stories here, Mike.
Yeah, this is good. I mean, both Scott Jeffrion and Bruce Allen. This is the best chance they've had at winning in a long time.
Meanwhile, Steve Evans standing by with Whit Bazemore.
Went a 5.10 to a 5.10, but you banged him out of the box.
Really? He ran 5.10? You're kidding me. Old Scotty, I tell you what, that old Mohawk, he's getting damn good, and he owes me quite a few. And I know that I know it pisses him off when we beat him, because it's happened too often for him, because he's a great racer. But 5.10, wow. We had to paddle it, you know. Our old Kendall Matco Camaro got in trouble, but you know, so I guess it's our turn to go to the final.
And indeed he is heading to the final round. Now, which of these pro stockers will go to the finals? Bruce Allen or that man, Scott Jeffrion, with 9 career wins. Again, look for that reaction timer. The green light will tell you who gets away first. Allen. But the Hemi has too much horsepower. 686 at 199 miles an hour. So the Dodge Hemi is still alive here in Memphis, Tennessee. Big time win right there, despite the reaction time advantage for Bruce Allen. And now our champion, Jag Coughlin. You're joining us along the way. Jag won the title earlier today by virtue of Ron Krischer being eliminated after opening round competition by Warren Johnson. You'll see the results of action there in the upper left-hand corner of your screen.
Towards the tree. Good.
Eavesdropping on the Jag Coughlin radios. It's got to be like a holiday for him now, Mikey. What with the title already wrapped up?
Yeah, but he's a competitor. He wants to win this race, and he's going to be tough to beat. You know, even though Larry Morgan qualified number 3, you know, he had some good lights. He had both 440 lights in the first and second round. Larry Morgan had 470 lights. It's a little bit off, so he's going to have to step up and run a little bit better.
3 feet. You're on.
Good race.
Making Larry a while to get his low-car combination under control. Jag is away first. As per usual,
You got it. 686
is the winner. You heard it, 686, 199 miles an hour, the exact same numbers as Scott Jeffrion.
Jag had a 426 light, so I don't think he's taking it too easy, even though he has won the championship.
Not at all.
See here on instant replay, Jaggy 426 light. Morgan not bad with a 440 light. Right down the track. Jag's still going to have the horsepower to go on top of the light. So it's like we said before, when you get the reaction time and you got the horsepower like that and you run right down the groove, you're tough to beat. On board here, watching going through the gears, it's very important that they hit the shift point at the right time with that shift light. Jag is as good as anybody at that. He's probably better than most. And that makes a lot of difference a lot of times in that elapsed time.
So Jag Coughlin and Scott Jeffrion with identical numbers going to the finals. Steve, that's going to be a great one, knowing that Scott has been able to run the numbers that Jag has. We'll talk more about it and hear from the finalists when we come back. Now the Pro Stock trucks here in Memphis, Tennessee. Semi-final action. We've had some good numbers posted by these trucks all weekend long. Jeff Gracia and Steve Johns set to go head-to-head here in this first of our semifinals. Hey, this series over the last few years, Mike Dunn, has really, really grown. It's become hugely popular.
Yeah, it's become real popular with some of the competition eliminators wanting to move up and run a professional category. and a lot of them have come over and done very well. Steve Johns here, he's former Winston champion and competition eliminator.
Now let's go to Steve Evans.
I got the Pro Stock finalists side by side. Scott Jeffrey on what a great day for Dodge in Mopar.
What a great day for this new Hemi motor, this whole program. It's come together. This Rick Jones race cars, man, I couldn't be happier for all the guys busting their chops back at the shop.
And you both go in with identical elapsed times, 86s.
Yeah, we're pretty fired up. You know, Scott and that group's been doing a great job. And, we're going to rock and roll.
See you on the starting line.
Steve Johns, Jeff Gracia. Gracia with the reaction time advantage. And Steve Johns, who has been one of the fastest and quickest trucks lately and finds himself 5th in points, pulls down the win, a 7:48 at 178 miles an hour. Good run for Steve Johns, who began the year as the #1 qualifier at Pomona and has hung right there in the middle of the competition all season long. Now another of the Coughlins. This is Mike Coughlin. He is 7th in points against Bob Piniella. He is the series point leader, a 4-time Division 6 Comp Eliminator champion. You talked about guys from Comp Eliminator, Mike, moving up. Here's a classic example in Bob Piniella.
Yeah, and he's done a great job. You know, former Winston champion, or won the Winston championship last year. Looks like a good shot at winning again this year. This is going to be a good race, though, because Mike Coughlin, he's been a little bit better on the lights today. And like we said, as you get in these later rounds, the competition becomes so tight that a lot of times these races are going to be determined by interaction.
I told you, normally Bob's truck likes the hot weather. It's been cold here today. He's been handling the conditions well. Coughlin's away first. Yes, anything left for the champ? No, Mike Coughlin has taken it on to the finals. 7:43 at 179 miles an hour. 7:43 at 179. So lane choice going to Mike Coughlin as he gets set to meet Steve Johns in the finals here in Memphis, Tennessee. It's going to be a good final coming up, actually in all of our divisions, a bit later on. Meanwhile, Don the Snake Prudhomme is the guy with the biggest smile on his face here this weekend, or at least a look of interest. His guys are all alive. Welcome back to Memphis, Tennessee. We have seen Chevy S10s, Dodge Dakotas, GMC Sonomas, Ford Rangers. Those are the body styles that make up the Pro Stock truck division. And that, of course, is the machine of Mike Coughlin, who's made his way to the finals here today. How much adjusting is done at this stage of the afternoon, Mike? I mean, they've made so many runs now.
Well, basically with the trucks, I think they're going to do some jetting because the air will probably be a little bit better. And they put a new clutch in every run, and they're going to probably make some chassis adjustments for the track being a little bit colder.
Steve Johns also having advanced. There you see the normally aspirated engines, the 5-speed manual transmissions, dual carburetors, and with the win over Jeff Gracia, having advanced to the final round here today for their team.
Looks like Steve's doing the same thing, making some carburetor adjustments. You can see the clutch is still out there, getting ready to put another unit in there for the final round, and we'll see what happens.
Steve Evans, as usual, lurking in the pits.
Thank you, Eli. There is a problem in the Larry Dixon Don Prudhomme camp. The top fuel direction chassis has bent somehow. Snake thinks it was bouncing through the shutdown area. It's a little bit bumpy down there and possibly just kind of got off kilter. So they're using blocks and sledgehammers and cable come-alongs and everything fine to try to make the top rail match the bottom rail. Even if it isn't quite right, the car will still be safe enough to run, but they'd like to give Dixon every advantage they possibly can. Chris?
Preparations for the final underway in Gary Scelzi's pit. Interesting note here, they had planned on changing the engine for this final should they get there. But this one came back perfect. So they've elected to just do the normal service and run with it in the final. It is, incidentally, the same engine they ran in the final against Joe Amato at Reading, Pennsylvania a few weeks ago. Everything seems to be in order. Gary Scelzi has a high degree of confidence right now as he goes for victory number 8 in this magical season.
I always know where to find my old pal Ed the Ace McCullough in this little nook in the back of the trailer with your computer. Now, you're analyzing the data you downloaded from the run that defeated John Force. What's it telling you it wants? What does baby need?
Well, actually, that was a pretty decent run out there, you know. The racetrack's awful good, you know, early on, but it's spinning the tires down course, and if we can keep from spinning the tires down course, it's going to run a lot quicker.
The temperature is also dropping. I'm going to put my gloves back on.
Well, that's been a factor all weekend, but we think after this many days of it, we can deal with it.
We can deal with just about anything, Chris.
A lot of activity going on here in Whit Bazemore's pit. Terry Manzer, the crew chief, working over here. And one part of the operation, he is not able to talk. He just doesn't have time. This reminds me of what John Force's team was going through a little while ago, just now lifting in the new engine. They have an awful lot of work to do. There was a little more damage than they expected after that run in which Whit Bazemore kind of saved the car toward the end of the quarter mile. As you can see, they're putting that engine in by hand. In fact, they just recruited somebody that's not really in the crew to try and place it in properly. Bazemore is outside packing his chutes at the moment. And everybody has a job to do, and again, it just is simply amazing how it seems so choreographed and so smooth. All these thousands of parts coming in the proper order as they turn this car around and prepare for the final in just a little while. A flurry of activity in this pit, but they seem well on their way to getting all the problems solved.
Have you wondered what the new Hemi Mopar Pro Stock motor might look like with the valve cover off? Well, take a look. This is the #1 qualified car of Scott Jeffrey going up against Jeg Coughlin. Like the old traditional Hemi, the spark plug tubes down through the heads, servicing the clutch, jetting the carburetor a little bit, putting some new spark plugs in it, cooling it down. That's just about it. They'll go to the starting line dead even performance-wise with Coughlin. Stay with us. The finals are coming your way here on Speed Vision.
The New York Yankees. Mantle, Maris, Berra, Gwynn, Steinbrenner, Dunn. They must have added some names to the roster. That, of course, is the transporter for the New York Yankees top fuel dragster. That my partner right here, Mike Dunn, is going to be driving starting later this season. There are the Wallies, the trophies that go to the winners at NHRA Winston Drag Racing Competition. Chris McClure standing by downstairs. Let's head to him.
Pro Stock's just firing their engines, and S10 will win this race. This man, Steve Johns, has been in a final, but it's been since 1999 that he got this far in competition. They brought his car up a little bit late. He seemed a little agitated, but he's been safely tucked away with his own thoughts for 2 or 3 minutes. I think he's settled down and ready to go. Mike Coughlin on the other side. He thinks there might be a national record in this lane on this day. We're about to find out.
Mike Coughlin with one runner-up finish this year. He was the #1 qualifier at the U.S. Nationals. Steve Johns himself the #1 qualifier earlier this year in Pomona. Both men looking for their first win of the 2000 season, Mike Dunn.
Yeah, and this should be a good matchup. You know, Mike Coughlin's ran real good at 744 first couple rounds and a 742. He's been on the light, had a 420 light that last race. Steve Johns, on the other hand, ran a great 743 in the first round. He fell off a little bit the next 2 rounds, but ran a 48 in the semi. It's going to be a little bit tough, but if he can match that 43 he had first round, he'll get the race.
Sure would be quite a race. There's Ron Capps, meanwhile, getting suited up after all those trip to the final rounds this year. Not a win. Could today be the day? We'll find out in just a short while. The start of Pro Finals here in Memphis. Mike Coughlin, Steve Johns, there's Papa Coughlin, Jeg Sr. He's got a champion already in the family. How about a winner for this weekend? Coughlin's going to win. Steve Johns lights the red light. The winning numbers, 747, 179 miles an hour. Mike Coughlin gets the win, his first of the 2000 season. Chris McClure, lots of smiles.
Well, he said, how about that, how about that, how about that? Pretty happy day.
Oh, listen, I'll tell you what, this is a father's dream. I mean, how can you do any better than this? You got 2 sons in the finals, and Jeggy's the world champion.
There's nothing else I can say. I'm just excited.
Well, you still got one more race to go. I guess that's one more hurdle, but that might make it a little better, Dave, if Jeg wins it.
Oh, hey, listen, it's perfect right now, and that would even be more perfect. Just thanks to all of our fans and the Jegs guys at home. We love all of you.
Go enjoy it.
Thank you.
Jeg Sr. And now to the other end of the track, Steve Evans.
Oh, yeah, the proud papa. Out of the car comes yet another Coughlin, this one named Mike. Janice Kruger, AutoZone Promo Manager, has the trophy. Jackie Beck, of course, Miss Winston. Wow, what a day.
That was awesome. I mean, with Jeggy clinching the World Championship here and me winning the final here and hopefully Jag getting ready to win another one, hopefully, this is great. This is just awesome.
Our congratulations. That's his second Coughlin this year, Eli, that is won in the truck category.
Indeed so. As a matter of fact, the Coughlin family has been so very dominant this year. It's been much documented. Of course, Mike Coughlin winning, John Coughlin winning at Gateway International earlier. Chris McClure.
Pro Stock just firing the engines. Jeg Coughlin Jr., who claimed the title for the year just a little while ago, looking for his 10th victory of 2000. Nobody in the history of this series has 10. The record is 11. He's closing in on that. We'll be back for that final in just a moment.
Burnouts here in Memphis, Tennessee. Jeg Coughlin against Scott Jeffreyon. We know what Jeggy has done all year, and Scott Jeffreyon, the #1 qualifier. Who do you like, Steve Evans, the guy who's been hottest all weekend or the guy who's been hottest all year?
If anybody deserves some good fortune, it's Scott Jeffreyon. He's had some slow hot rods the last couple of years. He fell off the roof of his house early last year and missed almost the entire 1999 season. He's back. He's on the pole. I like his chances.
Exactly why I never climb up onto the roof of our home. Far too dangerous. Mike Dunn, who do you like?
Well, I'll tell you, I think it's pretty much heads up. I'd like to see Scott win. Like Steve said, he's been struggling for a while, and he had that ball falling off his roof. But, you know, this is a pretty even matchup. They both ran identical elapsed time. Scott ran a little bit faster, had lane choice based on the speed from the last round. But they're both going to be right on the lights. It's going to be tough to call this one.
Jeffreyon has 9 career Pro Stock wins. Jeg Coughlin has 9 wins this year alone in clinching the Winston Championship. We'll ride along with them and see who takes the win. Identical reaction time. They can't get any closer. It's Jeg Coughlin, win number 10 of the year. 687. His brother celebrates 199 miles an hour. Chris, let's do it again with Jeg Sr.
Well, they're leaping and hollering and screaming. You said it was perfect already. I guess more perfect. Is that grammatically correct?
Jeggy's just unreal. I mean, I love all 4 of my sons more than anything in the world, but this is great. This is the most outstanding thing in the world.
And that was a great drag race right to the finish.
Oh, it was absolutely fabulous. This racing team that we have is the ultimate of racing teams, and the Jegs mail order people that help us produce this, that work for us every day to make all of the money that we need to do this. We love them. We love everybody.
I didn't get a tear quite just yet, but I bet there's one waiting.
I bet so. Identical reaction times. They each had one at a 5.75 at 1,000 feet, one at a 5.76. You don't get closer.
No, this is a great drag race. Both drivers had a 4.35 reaction time. About 60-foot Jeg was a little bit better, and then 330 was a little bit better. The half track, though, they were running about identical numbers, but there Jeg just had enough advantage from that 60-foot to the 330 that he held on for the win. Great side-by-side race.
687 at 199.6. to the 689 at 199.1. Couldn't put a piece of paper between the two of them. And it's going to be a strange feeling when you're on board and you don't know where the other guy is.
Yeah, I mean, here we are looking out the side window, and there, Scott's right there all the time. I guarantee you, Jeg's looking straight down the racetrack, but he knows Scott Jeffreyn's right next to him.
Mano a mano. Brother and brother, winners in Memphis. Steve?
Jeg Jr. becomes the first driver to win 10 Pro Stock events in a single season. Darrell Alderman's won 11, but you're the first to win 10. There's not a button left on your father's shirt. They've all popped off.
They should. He's done a heck of a job, winning in the Pro Stock truck category. And the Pro Stock category is a first for us in one day. And, we won the championship today. We couldn't be more excited. Man, there's just not much left. I mean, we got 3 races left, and we're going to stay focused and continue to try and bring home the victories.
And Janice Kruger from AutoZone, she's got the trophy. Jackie Beck will have the check. I think he's just interviewed out, Chris.
Funny car about ready to stage up. Right now we're waiting for the signal to start the engines. The track looks clear. In the case of Whit Bazemore's team, we saw that flurry of activity a little while ago. They were most concerned about the clutch. They had a little glitch in the clutch at the end of that last run. They wanted to make sure that it was perfectly set. Ron Capps on the other side in his 7th final, looking for his first victory. We'll be back to see who gets it in a moment.
They have met before in semifinal action, but never in the finals. Ron Capps and Whit Bazemore going head-to-head here in Memphis. The last time they met, August of a year ago in Brainerd, Minnesota. But in the 10 times they have met, never has it been in the finals, Mike Dunn. Today it is.
Yeah, both these guys deserve to win. I mean, they've both of them had a pretty tough year. Whit Bazemore's been really up and down, gone out in the first round a lot of times. Ron Capps been a little more consistent, but he still hasn't got that first win, which he'd love to get here right now.
If you like the Camaros, well, we've got them coming at you full bore. Ron Capps, his 3rd straight final round appearance. His last win coming 46 races ago at Heartland Park, Topeka, Kansas, October of '98. Of course, Whit Bazemore having won this year at the Vandermeer Raceway in Denver, Colorado.
You look on board here with Whit. I mean, what he was trying to do there, the guy in front was trying to make him get back right in this track. They're going to lift the body, make some adjustments to the engine, maybe, turn the other mag on or whatever they're going to do and get ready to go race.
Ron Capps has been runner-up to John Force at Phoenix, runner-up to Tolliver at Gainesville. What could his owner be thinking? He was runner-up to Force in Richmond, Virginia. He was runner-up to Bruce Sarver in Reading, Pennsylvania. He was runner-up to Force in Atlanta. And again last week in Topeka, Kansas. There are the lane choice numbers. Not terribly decisive. There could be an argument made to take either lane.
Yeah, and Ron Capps had lane choice, and he chose the left lane, which pretty much everybody's been doing all day in the field categories.
It's going to be Ron Capps taking the win. The Snakes man has picked up his first victory of the year with a 492 at 297 miles an hour. Ron Capps is finally, in the year 2000, a race winner, Chris.
Yeah, we've got a big group hug here. Ace McCullough, Don, the Snake Prudhomme. It's about time, I'm sure they're saying, among other things, a moment of joy, Don. Finally, 7th final for Ron, you break through.
Oh, that's great. This is for all the U.S. tobacco folks around the country. The Copenhagen Skoal guys, they stuck by us and worked with this, and we got the car in the winner's circle for them. Can't hardly wait to call them, tell them about it.
I know you got more work to do. Go ahead.
Thank you.
He does have more work to do because his other team car, the top fueler of Larry Dixon, yet to run. A good drag race to start.
Yeah, on replay, Ron Capps got the jump out of the hole. There you see a problem with Whit Bazemore. Obviously, they blew the engine. Burst panel comes flying off. Here we look at it from half track. Ron's already ahead. Whit's already in trouble right there. He's already had his problem, and there goes Ron just cruising to a victory, and that was a great win for him.
492 at 297 miles an hour. Again on the left, you see that piece go shooting?
Yeah, and that happened real early in the run. That was even probably before they started applying the clutch. So obviously there was some kind of problem, probably in the fuel delivery system or something, where it actually caused the thing to backfire and launch that burst panel off the body.
And as happy as Don Prudhomme is, you're sure.
Here it is in car. We're going to see it, boom, right there, and it's done. I mean, it's going nowhere. There, say bye to Ron.
As happy as the Snake is, that's how disappointed Chuck Etchells must be. And the Ace McCullough, he's a winner again, Chris.
A winner again, indeed, and very, very happy. We saw him in the middle of that big huddle a moment ago. Finally, eh?
Well, it's been a long time. This year's been a struggle, but, for the U.S. Tobacco Company and our race team, Don Prudhomme Racing, we finally won us a race, and we're not going to look back now.
You really faced some adversity and fought through it this weekend.
Well, we did. I mean, but it was for everybody. The weather conditions were, they were what they were, but they were the same for everybody. And we went down the racetrack every run, and we were able to pull it off. We beat Force for the first time in 13 straight times, and we couldn't do anything. We had to win.
Okay, let's go to the top end. Steve?
It's the Janice and Jackie Show starring Ron Capps. 7 is your lucky number.
Boy, I'm going to give you a Joe Motto interview, really. Just hang with me, because there's a family, a lot of families out there that, for everybody in this sport that lets it go around. I mean, Steve, Speed Vision people, Winston people, U.S. Tobacco, Chevrolet, everybody NHRA. I mean, the families that let these people go on the road and let us go out and have fun. It's supposed to be work for me, but I have fun at it. It's them that lets us all come out and do this, and sticks with us. It's been 2 years since we won. I saw Jimmy Vassar win last week, and after 2 years, I thought, man, we got us one coming. So, hey, this is great. U.S. Tobacco, like I said, Chevrolet, Winston especially, for all this, all the good work they've given us. So I appreciate it.
I'm going to mention his wife, Shelley. He forgot to.
Well done, Steve. So the points in funny car. John Force, Ron Capps, now number 2 with Tolliver in number 3. And when we come back, Scelzi and Dixon, Top Fuel, Memphis, in a moment. Speed Vision coverage of the 2000 NHRA Winston Championship is being brought to you by Goodyear. Serious technology, freedom from worry. Gary Scelzi, Larry Dixon. Scelzi trying to put more and more distance between himself and the rest of the pack in Top Fuel points. Meanwhile, Larry Dixon trying to make it a sweep for the Snakes team. On the heels of the Ron Capps victory moments ago, Dixon and the Miller Lite Dragster team would love to give Don Prudhomme a magnificent doubleheader win here in Memphis today. This should be a good one.
Yeah, this should be a good one. You got to give the edge to Scelzi, though. I mean, he's been running very good, low 460s. Dick LaHaye, they've had a little bit of problem. I think they've had some problems possibly in the ignition this weekend, and also with that chassis change they've had to make. But he'll still go out there and run a good number.
Lane choice numbers, as you see. We showed you earlier the fact that chassis on Dixon's machine was bent a little bit after an earlier run. Clearly, safety is of primary concern, so the Snake made sure the car is safe. But that front chassis, how will that affect this run?
Well, they got it straight, it won't affect it all. I know in a situation like ours where we wheel stood the car and bent it really, really bad, we were able to get it straight and have no problem. I think they'll be just fine, to tell you the truth.
Is there another 460 in Scelzi's future? Or can Dixon pull one out and take the win? Don Prudhomme wants to sweep. Let's watch. Scelzi loses traction. Oh, and up goes Dixon. My goodness gracious. Oh, my. Scelzi will get the win out of 5:22, but that for the moment is secondary. That for the moment is secondary. Another savage accident here in Memphis, Tennessee, on the heels of the Tony Schumacher accident of last evening. You see the safety Safari quickly pivoting into position. It was a wheel stand midway through at the transition point of that right lane. And the rest, well, you saw so very vividly. Ron Capps is there. Gary Scelzi, who cannot believe what he's seeing, he was on the track alongside Schumacher last night when Tony had his horrific accident. And again, he is there to see it far too closely. Watch what happens. Scelzi's done. He smokes the tires.
Yeah, Gary's basically out of it at this time. Larry's on a perfect run. Everything's going good. The chassis just looks like it came apart.
Is that a byproduct, to take nothing away from the preparedness of this team?
Well,
is that a byproduct of their chassis problem of moments ago?
Well, we can see. You can see the car start to bow out as it normally does. It's going to arch as it's planting air, from the downforce on the wing, and the chassis just buckled right there in front of the foot boxes, which is where the driver sits, and just it was a chassis failure.
Unbelievable. We have seen here this weekend two of the more savage accidents
Here it again.
On the NHRA circuit.
Larry picks the front end up. Car's doing, looks good right there. Just, starting to arch back, and then boom, it just
folded upwards.
Yeah, basically just split the chassis there right in front of the foot box, which is where the driver compartment is. And once it did that, the air caught it and just sent it in the air.
It almost looked as though it were a smooth run also, Mike Dunn. He didn't see any violent bouncing, at least not to the naked eye.
No.
We're going to come back, certainly, to follow up on the condition of Larry Dixon. Stay with us.
We are back in Memphis, Tennessee, right in the middle of the drag strip near the finish line. You see the remains of the Larry Dixon Top Fuel drag strip. The chassis buckle, an awful accident. Does not appear to be related to that chassis repair we talked about earlier, though. Now, Dixon was unconscious when we first got here. As they clipped the cage off and extricated him from the car, he awoke. He talked to his wife, Allie. He has since been loaded in an ambulance to a helicopter to a regional trauma center. Eli?
Steve, thank you. We have regretfully seen far too much of the safety safari, but what a magnificent bit of work they have done all weekend long. Thanks for joining us. For Mike Dunn, Chris McClure, Steve Evans, Eli Gold, good night from Memphis.